Welcome back, everyone, to the Chatooine Show, the best and brightest podcast in the galaxy, filled with a wretched hive of scum and villainy. And that is us. We're here every Wednesday nights, normally talking about all things Star Wars. I'm Star Wars only. Tonight I'm joined with Lunga. And is that an emo Palpamemes? Have you turned
It's
to the
time,
dark
man.
side?
It's time. We'll explain later.
All right, I heard you have a dark turn. That
Only not
came
only if he went
unexpected
through
in our
puberty
break.
and could grow a goatee, then he could be his, his evil self.
No, I got my heart broken and I acted like a girl about it. Nah, I'm just kidding.
But you didn't have
Because
your master
tonight
sneak
will
into your
be the
bedroom
night that
with
I
a
will
lightsaber.
clock you
Oh God,
over
not the whiny
again.
music.
At least,
Don't make me
unlike
change
a
my
certain
mind.
studio,
Yeah.
at least I go through
Gotta put the
with
hair
my
in front of your
plans,
eye.
okay?
Gotta put
You
the
look
hair in
like
front of
such
your
a
eye.
fucking punk.
Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you
Doom and
over
Gloom palps. We need
again.
to change the color of that hair on that picture.
It'll be emo palps.
No,
going
it's
forward.
gonna stay. It's going to stay brown. That's just how it's gonna stay. It's not gonna change for your mood. Okay.
Doom and gloom forever. You remember? But if you guys are watching this live or listening to it later, leave us a like, help the channel out. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, see future episodes of the show, and make sure you follow us on all the socials in the description below. And if you really enjoy this nonsense of a show, you can become a channel member. You remember those? We talked about that when we were doing Chatooine. Or you can leave us a super chat during the show and we'll answer any questions that you may have. We did take a break. We took a little bit of a break. There's not much going on in the world of Star Wars right now, and we don't want to, just pump out not good episodes. So it's been a nice little break and everything. And we'll have an update at the end of the show on what the future episodes of Chatooine are going to be like in the coming months. So let's kind of get into a little bit dilly dally into this Star Wars news week. The past week or so, there's been some news about these movies. Some seems like legit. Some are kind of fuzzy on the actual stuff, but I think the biggest one is clearly the Ray movie. And this is coming from Puck News, who the guy who I think runs this site or created it, used to be an editor at the
Matthew
Hollywood Reporter. So
Baloney.
yes. So he has, a reliable track record and everything. I looked at his stuff through like the Star Wars leaks and everything, and a lot of the stuff he said either has come true or is one of those things where it's like kind of almost easy to predict. But he is saying in this report that Lucasfilm has parted ways with the second writer, Stephen Knight, who has now left the project, and he was the one who did Peaky Blinders. He came in after Palpatine was his name? Was it
Damon
Damon
Lindelof.
Lindelof? Yeah, so he came in after Damon, who did a couple drafts. I think they said that he did it the 4 drafts, and it's actually his pitch that is this movie. He is the one who pitched the story for this movie. They parted ways with him not so long ago. I think a year or so ago.
And
then they brought in
isn't
Stephen
the
Knight.
wording Knight with the wording with Knight, by the way, it doesn't seem like other stuff where they like getting rid of writers because they don't like what they're doing. He, I think, got fed up. Is what
That
the
is
sound
what
of it is.
it seems like. Yeah, it seemed like he was just kind of like, all right, like I can't keep turning in drafts. Like I'm done with this kind of situation. And Charmino Bachinoy is apparently still tied to the project, which I do think is almost surprising, not only because of the controversy around what she had done within the past year, whatever the hell that she was saying, people got upset about, but just the fact that there's been now 2 writing changes within this movie. So according to Puck News, Lucasfilm is actively looking for a new writer to take over. Palpamemes is the one who is near and dear to this Ray movie more than me and Lunga by far. I kind of want to get your take and your reaction to this because we know you're doom and gloom, and you constantly were saying, "Oh, the James Mangold movie's not gonna happen. The Dave Filoni movie's never gonna." Now it's your fucking Ray movie that might not have. Well, it's not that it's not gonna happen, but like, just what was your reaction to this? Was it hurt? Was it pain?
Well, I mean, this pissed me off so much that my hair is now black, if that shows anything. I mean, it was... I have no words. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not surprising one bit, yet it is surprising. You know what I mean? Because we've been through this so many times with Lucasfilm, and this is the second writer that's bailed on them or left because of creative differences or fired, whatever the case may be with Lindelof and now Knight. But what pisses me off so much is they had 2 competent writers. They had 2 very, very well-beloved writers who have a very good track record. And because it's Lucasfilm, of course, that means they're going to have to settle for something much less. I'm not saying the person they hire is going to be a good writer. What I'm saying is the end result's going to be a Lucasfilm mess, like pretty much everything they've put out besides a handful of things here and there are. and it's just one of those things where it's like, only you say so confidently, like, oh, this film is gonna happen, and I'm like, I respect your enthusiasm and I respect your optimism, but why on earth would we believe it at this point? Daisy Ridley says the same 3 words every single interview. It seems like, oh, I'm waiting on something, or you'll hear something soon, and then it's just the same regurgitated statements. This movie was announced over a year ago, and there has been no development. It seems like that they were supposed to start filming this last April, or this previous April. Then they were supposed to start filming it in 2025, and now with this news, it's supposed to not start filming until at minimum 2026, and it could be beyond that. That's absolutely insane. Daisy Ridley is going to be the age of the old Rey that was supposed to happen in the Damon Lindelof version of this movie by the time this freaking film gets made. And so another thing I want to point out is there was a lot of people saying, oh, we don't trust this news site. This is Puck News, blah, blah, blah. And while I understand being skeptical over news sites like this, I totally get it. But like Only said, this is a credible guy. And also Empire and Variety, both of these two people, or these two journalists, they both backed this. And so, yes, people are confusing them, saying the first report of this was from Puck News. People are taking that as them taking Puck's source and running with it. It's like, no, they're just giving credit to the first people who revealed this. When Empire and Variety go through with this, they go to their direct sources, which is, guys, I'm sorry, Lucasfilms themselves. This news is true, and it's not surprising one bit. And it's just so frustrating, because I, as a fan, and I'm sure many other people, are burnt out. I get people asking me all the time, why are you so negative about Star Wars and Lucasfilm? Maybe stop putting blame on me and the fans. Maybe start putting blame on the studio that fails to get a freaking movie made. Can we stop blaming the fans for Lucasfilm's incompetence? This is coming from the guy who would shill for them and loved everything they put out. I can't do it anymore. It's so tiring. No matter what they announce, I cannot get excited for it because there is a 90+% chance that it will get canceled or shelved indefinitely.
Well, go ahead.
It's the whole Puck News thing. It does make me laugh because it's like you realize you realize the shit publications people believe, like Hello Sunshine or fucking Milk Toast, whatever that fucking one is on Twitter. Like there's all these other little scoopers that say shit that people fucking jump all over. Okay, and they're like,
because
oh my god,
positive news.
Okay, which doesn't make any sense. Well, they even do negative stuff too, or fucking comic book movies, the CBR, whatever, those shit. It's like,
yeah,
well, those are even less credible. Matthew Bologna was an editor for the Hollywood Reporter. Okay, now Puck News is not a trade, right? It does dabble in scooping, and the whole point with scooping, the difference is the trades try to corroborate it, whereas the scooper is just like, hey, this is what we're hearing. And that's why most of them say take it with a grain of salt, because we haven't corroborated it. This is what one of our sources is telling us, shit like that. So it can be wrong, right? And shit's fluid. It's dynamic. It's not static. It can change. So, trying to discredit it because of Puck News is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because of all of the scoopers. If there's going to say one that's going to be the most credible, Puck News is the one that's going to be most credible, because this is a guy who was an entertainment lawyer and was an editor of Hollywood Reporter. So it's not like he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about in entertainment news. Similar to like John Campa. John Campa stays away from the scooping. He doesn't do that. And I'm sure he hears things. He just doesn't talk about them, because he doesn't want to break that confidence. But, of all of them, he's going to be the most credible, if anything. Doesn't mean he's 100% right, but he's the most credible. So that just makes me laugh. As far as you mentioning about the Charmin Obad Chinoy, she's still attached to the film because they haven't said anything otherwise. So that's where we're at. They didn't reaffirm that she's still the director.
Well, actually, I'm reading Variety, so I don't mean to cut you off, but Variety did confirm that at the moment, Charmin is still involved. She's still the plan director.
At the moment, because someone at Lucasfilm said she is, or because at the moment she is because they haven't said anything yet. They haven't said otherwise.
Or could be either or.
Right, because as per the last announcement, she's the director. If they haven't said anything about it, that means she is still the director.
I think with Variety,
I mean,
they would. I think they would probably, if I'm going to bet on what side this leans on, I would bet that they did reach out and kind of wanted clarification on this. Because here's the thing that I'm coming down on this, where I'm not as doom and gloom as good old Palpamemes is on the situation. And because I know you brought that up earlier about like my enthusiasm about this. The reason I don't think this one out of all of them is getting canceled, delayed, not going to happen, or whatever the hell like that. Well, I mean, it's clearly
It's
getting
their
delayed.
future.
Oh, they lost the writer, but it's the big one for them. This is like the Mandalorian. This is something they're kind of building, and I think they need. And I've said this before with Kathleen Kennedy. They need a win, and it's funny when we talk about Kathleen Kennedy and this movie coming out. Is one of the things that I feel like went a little under the radar, even though it's very obvious this is the situation that I think Kathleen Kennedy is in with these Star Wars movies, is that according to, I think it was either Jeff Snyder, who is also extremely credible, or it was Puck News, is they were saying around the time of last year that Kathleen Kennedy's job kind of relies on her getting a Star Wars movie out by 2025. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying that's true in the slightest. I don't think they're at Disney like, oh, you have to have a Star Wars movie out or you're done, Kathy. We're just done with you. Speaking of done, Palpamemes just got sniped by Kathleen again. Oh, Jesus Christ.
My brother's
All right.
showing me my new airsoft gun.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just pop back on the screen with a fucking gun. I mean, not a real gun. It's an airsoft one, but
It got
really
new grip on it.
with no explanation, you just like,
Context,
bro.
nothing, yeah.
But it doesn't help either talking about Kathleen Kennedy in that moment. Some people might
Yeah,
take
don't
that wrong.
don't do
yeah,
that. This is gonna
Jesus
get clipped.
Christ.
Yeah. Listen,
We're
man.
gonna get demonetized.
I know it's been a while since we've had a show.
Listen,
but
anyways, sorry for the interruption.
only
all right?
we're gonna have to keep tabs on him. He's worrying me.
Kathy. I'm so sorry.
I love you,
Anywho,
Kathleen.
what I was saying is that like I think Lunga talked about this in the group chat the other day. And Lunga, God, like when he said this, it really did hit in a way in my mind where I was like, that makes a lot of sense about how they probably have known for a little bit that this Rey movie was not going to be the first one back. And that's why you started hearing stuff about Mando and Grogu. So I do think there's some truth that there is a little, where there's smoke, there's fire. There might be a fire underneath the ass of Kathleen Kennedy right now by Disney, who's saying like, look, we don't mind waiting for a Star Wars movie, but you need to give us something here, because now this was planned to be the first one back after the other first one back, Rogue Squadron, didn't happen, so it's the same stuff over and over again. Whatever happened to Taika, and so with this movie in particular, it's crazy to think this is supposed to be the next movie. This now might be the third movie we get from Star Wars in the next 5 to 10 years. Like this might be a situation where we just don't, right now, we just don't know when this is going to happen.
And what prompted that discussion was John Roca, that tweet that John Roca put out, which ironically the message that he put up there, the screenshot, is when I'm on my birthday, August 23rd. But it was regarding, he says he saw this coming after my sources on August 23rd. Said that Knight had passed 4+ version of script, but Lucasfilm found nonstop issues.
So
and
it
notes
was
with all of
Stephen
them.
Knight who did the 4, not Damon Lindelof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And this was in August. And it says Stephen Knight has passed in at least 4 versions of the Rey Star Wars movie script. He may have passed in even more. Lucasfilm found issues with all of them, and I've heard he's just about done with the whole project. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves the project. So this was back in August. And the announcement of Mando and Grogu being the first movie was in August.
Was that in August? I thought that was way later or earlier in the year.
No, it was August. I Googled it, and when they were talking about them, it was that they were all dated August. That was August.
Oh shit! Oh, but was it August of last year? Or
When
this
they
year?
announced that the first movie, not that they were making a Mando movie, when they said that it was going to be the first movie, when we found out that the Rey movie was, remember originally the Rey movie was supposed to be the first one.
Yeah. They said there was going to be a Rey movie, a Dawn of the Jedi, and then a Mandoverse movie.
Right.
And then like
And when
6
we got-
months later, they announced, "Oh, we're doing a Mando and Grogu movie first."
Right. That's what I'm talking about. When they said we're
Okay,
doing Mando and
okay,
Grogu
okay.
first, that was in August.
So this has been coming down the pipeline. This was almost inevitable. There's a lot we could say, and there's so much to get to with the other movies and stuff. But when it comes to this movie, Long, I'll go to you first. Do you think this is going to happen at this point? Do you think we're going to get a Rey Star Wars movie
Yes.
soon? Okay.
Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's Lucasfilm being Lucasfilm, right? And I know what always say, well, the other movies, the stars, Rogue Squadron and this and that doesn't happen. But like you mentioned, this is the Rey movie, right? This is not, Rangers of the New Republic or something, okay? So it's gonna happen, and I think they're shifting it, okay? And the same thing happened again, right? Like, so I mentioned in August is when they said we're doing an Amanda movie first, when they realized, okay, we're having problems with the script. We're not gonna get us first, so let's shift it, right? And now when they realize, oh, we're gonna have to get a new writer, that's when they make the same time they make the announcement of Dawn of the Jedi. Now Rey is going to probably be pushed back to the third movie. You see what I'm saying? So they're just doing the same thing. They keep shifting to try to get time to do it. So it's going to happen. It's just going to take longer because of this nonsense, which keeps happening. And people keep bringing up, the Kathleen Kennedy. Someone said in the chat, I think she's picky, and you brought up Kathleen Kennedy, and she obviously, she's president. Obviously, she has input and say so. But I still think, and this goes back years now, when I made that video about Michelle Rejwan, we still don't have, because this movie's still not even, the script isn't even written, right? There's nothing on IMDb about producers and all that other kind of stuff. It doesn't even have a listing yet in IMDb. But Rejwan was senior vice president over the movies, and then she left that role to become a full-time producer again. So she's just full-time being a producer. The last thing she did, I believe, was Andor. And Andor was the last major one she was a part of. I think this is her handiwork. This feels like her shit. It does to me. Okay? And Kathleen trusts her. So I think it has something to do with her. I think that's why this is happening. How are you, 4 scripts from good writers, from a good writer, you can't, come to an agreement. We keep trying to guess what is their logic, and the answer is there is none. It's I don't know what we want, but I know it when I hear it. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it.
Right.
Thing.
Yeah.
Palpatine's, where are you coming down on this? Because this is your movie. I mean, it's not me and Lungus thing. Do you think this is going to happen or not at this point?
Guys, I put a freaking billboard up in New York City at the NASDAQ tower, for crying out loud, calling for a Rey series or movie, whatever, a few years ago.
And it happened.
Okay?
You got your movie, you fuck.
Yeah, and so that's what's so frustrating for me as a fan, is just like the fact that this dude, right, this goofball right here, the fact that I am...
Can we not act like this movie is happening because of the fucking billboard? This is not the Acolyte season 2. This is actually going to be happening.
They did this, Lunga. Palpatine carried this.
But the movie was going to happen regardless.
Daisy Ridley and said, we're fucking doing it. The reason I was bringing that up, Lunga, was not to try and get credit for it, but to show on how big of a fan of this character and of this project I am of it. So the fact that someone who should be this excited for it, am just down on it, just like, wow, this fucking sucks. That is a telltale sign of a studio screwing up. Do you ask me if this movie's going to get made? I want to say yes. I do think it has a very good chance of being made. But like I said earlier, by the time this movie gets made, Daisy Ridley is going to be the age that Rey was supposed to be in Damon Lindelof's script, right? With the old Rey. And so that's what's so frustrating. It's like, yeah, I'm sure this is going to happen, but when? And who's to say Ridley's not going to tell him to, give him the finger and say, yeah, I'm going to move on with my life, because we've seen that happen with a lot of people. We just saw it with these writers who are just tired of dealing with Lucasfilm's crap. We don't know the ins and outs, but we could imagine that it's simple creative differences. So it will happen, probably, but I'm not going to promise it's even going to happen with Daisy Ridley at this point.
I'm on the other
side. For me, do you know what it reminds me of? I want to say this real quick before I forget. You know what it reminds? Do you guys remember that one of the very old seasons of The Simpsons, when Mr. Burns had the baseball team, he brought in all those ringers, and he had Don Mattingly, and he kept telling Don Mattingly to shave his sideburns, and he kept shaving his hair higher and higher and higher, and he was still he had no hair, like on a side of his head, period. And he kept saying, shave the sideburns. And Tom Mattingly's like, I don't know what you think sideburns are, but I don't have any. And if this is what I think it feels like when Night, he's like, I keep giving you scripts. What more
is
wrong with it?
The fourth
what do you want?
that I've turned in.
What do you want?
Yeah. Well, it's your idea. Well, you don't like any of them. So
Y'all
pick
want to know my?
something.
I just want to chirp in real quick, and then we can move on. But my favorite cope of this is people. God, I love these people. God bless them all. Some of them are my friends. These people saying that the reason this happened isn't because of Lucasfilm's incompetence, the fact that this happens 1,000 times, but no, actually because John Boyega's coming back, and so they need to rewrite the entire fucking script. What planet are you guys living on? What? What?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. What are you talking about, bro?
No, it's a good thing.
It's not like they're gonna give him a prominent role anyways because he's black and Disney hates black people because they can't sell well in China. It's not like he's gonna do
they
anything
did it
in
to
the
him
movie.
again. He was there. He was gonna be in it. He shows up to the con. He's there, and then they pull the rug out from under him again.
Oh, and also the other thing I saw some of the people that are more in with Lucasfilm do is they criticized people for criticizing this instead of criticizing Lucasfilm for this. It's just like what are you guys at in the world?
No. The cope is real, and it's one of these things where it's like kind of like with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. God, it's so funny. One of my biggest dreams I ever did was when me and Lunga talking about the Kenobi series getting canceled. Kathleen came out with Ewan McGregor and was like, the scripts are done.
Oh my
We're ready
gosh,
to
yes.
produce. We're ready to
Yes.
begin production today. We can start filming today. And then like 3 months later, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series has been
4
delayed.
years later.
Yeah. It's one of the, and in the Kenobi series
It's
is
a
another
sitcom, guys.
great example because
Lucasfilm is living in a sitcom.
but
here's the thing.
because the Kenobi
This is
went
not-
from
this
movie
is-
to trilogy to show and everything.
I'm telling. There's and you see the people with the acolyte and all this stuff right now. There is a crisis happening in Hollywood right now. Okay. And when it comes
Big time.
just a general crisis in Hollywood, right? General one.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this one, what I'm regarding to is that regarding nerd content. Okay. Joker 2. Okay. Joker 2. And Marvel. Okay. What we're seeing is creatives, especially, I mean, Todd Phillips isn't a young guy, right? He's about my age, but this generation's writers, I mean, we know they're auteurs, right? Todd Phillips, he sees himself like a Christopher Nolan and other, and he's a good director. I'm not saying he's a bad director,
All right.
but they see themselves as auteurs, right? Ryan Johnson, it's the same shit. Okay, they want to make this creative stuff. It's just you don't get it. You don't get it. Okay, and the
But
bottom line
themes,
is
Lunga.
hold on.
Yeah.
The bottom line is if you're a theater/film school nerd, you will get it. You'll love the Joker, right? You'll love the Last Jedi. Okay, and why? Because when you strip away the expectations of an IP and just talk about the writing and what went into making this movie and the themes that were in it, they did that job, right? But the crisis they're getting is they thought it would be received in these other IPs. And what they don't understand is that these are legacy IPs, that people don't want them fucked with like that. Okay?
Yeah.
And we're not getting down to the whole woke shit and not even any of that. Okay? Just you make Todd Phillips literally and Quentin Tarantino went on a podcast and said he made this movie. He goes, Todd Phillips was the Joker. The director was Joker.
Yeah.
He
said,
made
"Fuck
this
you to
movie.
the audience. Fuck you to the Joker.
Fuck you to audience.
Warner Brothers,
Fuck you to
everybody."
DC. Fuck you to
Yeah.
Warner Brothers. Fuck you to Hollywood. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. Okay. And to me, I get it, but there's so much hubris in that. You think you're above what made this IP its IP. Okay.
Well, that's
and to
become the
me,
trend
that
with
is
Star Wars now.
there's so much hubris in that. Look what happened with Marvel with the Blade movie. They knew they couldn't fuck up that movie. This is just like Ray. It's a similar situation, okay? With Wesley Snipes, that movie is so iconic, okay? And it pretty much is one of people like to say Spider-Man is it, but it pretty much what started this generation of superhero movies, okay? Was those Blade movies. And Wesley Snipes did it so good, and then the movie you're talking shit about with Wolverine and Deadpool, they make the joke in there about how there'll only be one blade and there'll always only be one blade. Okay.
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali. That movie, it went the way of Ray. It's the same thing. We can't get a script. We can't get a script. It's been rewritten a bunch of times, multiple times, back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. That movie's been in production for 4 years, and nothing's happened yet. Okay, it's supposed to come out. It's supposed to come out next year, and that's not happening now. So I got pulled from the slate. Okay, so this crisis is happening everywhere when it comes to these nerdy IPs.
And what you're
Star
saying
Wars,
about like
Marvel,
the franchises and the IPs and stuff, I
DC.
think the big application with this is the issue of Lucasfilm did the sequels. They took what you're saying, legacy characters, and instead of what I think the casual audience and the lexicon as a whole looks at it and goes, "Oh, you didn't tell really a story about Star Wars." J.J. Abrams tried to, but Ryan Johnson came in and told his story that he wanted to tell, not the Star Wars story, but his story that happens to be set in Star Wars, which is exactly what you were just saying about these people coming in. And I think that's the situation.
Yeah, if you
that's
take a
problem
film
here is that-
student, if you take a film student and put them in front of that, they knew nothing about Star Wars, it would be a magnus opus. The Last Jedi, right? Oh my God!
Yeah, no,
He-
yeah, we've said that
understand-
thousands of times. But and I think that's a situation here where it's these you have this writer, Stephen Knight or Damon Lindelof coming in, and now you're dealing with these characters that Lucasfilm themselves created, that Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams characterizing and gave some depth to, quotation marks. And now you have another writer coming in and kind of doing their version of it. And the people at Lucasfilm are looking at this and going, okay, well, that's like a Stephen Knight script, but that's not really Star Wars. And we'll give you 4 tries, but it's not really working out. I don't think they know what they want, but I love what we were saying earlier about I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it. And I think that is
because
what
they're
Lucasfilm has been looking
disconnected.
for a
They are
while.
disconnected from normal people. They're
Oh, yeah, I
disconnected
know,
from
I know.
normal people. And when again, we're not talking about the woke stuff. Just in general.
Yeah.
They're just disconnected in general. And the worst part about it is the people we see that are the shills, okay? They're supporting all this. Like, it's like, do you understand? They don't give a fuck. Are you not getting it? That the reason why the Acolyte 2, now you're like, oh, look, oh yeah, they did it to you too. The people who like that shit, the shills, they did it to you too. They don't give a fuck. They want to do what they want to do because they think they know better than everybody. And when they do this whole thing, you go write something.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into my arguments on Twitter lately because someone brought it up too. Okay. It's like, motherfucker, I did. And people are going to talk shit about it now, probably just because they want to try to slam me. It's like, motherfucker, you know what? Just because they're there, just because they're making money at it, doesn't mean they're fucking good.
Well, and I do want to bring up the next topic because I think this is a good segue. We're talking kind of like the Artur stuff, where James Mangold, one of the reports that came out in the past couple days, and this is a mixed bag of reporting because this came from like Daniel RPK, who is not very reliable. Even though he's a scooper, he's not reliable. It's like he got some stuff right, but most of it's wrong. He was saying that James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie is ready to begin production next year. And according to a couple other articles and websites, they were saying that James Mangold was saying in a recent interview basically that he doesn't mind being a studio director. It's not that he's not an auteur, but he is one of those go-to movie studio directors, kind of like a Ron Howard type, where they go to you and they say, "Hey, this is what we want to be made. Can you direct it?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay, sure, yeah." So that's
What
James
Christopher
Mangold.
Nolan was at Warner Brothers until the whole shit happened and he got pissed off because they were putting everything direct to streaming and
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's a real director. All right, that's an auteur for sure.
Yeah.
But anywho, when it comes to this James Mangold movie, it's like I said earlier, where there's smoke, there's fire. It does seem like this movie is still going forward and it's got steam behind it. Palpatine's because this was the one you specifically said would least likely happen. What are your thoughts about some of the news that came out this past week, and do you believe any of it?
Well, James Mangold confirmed it himself, didn't he? We're bringing up Daniel.
He
Daniel was
confirmed
something else.
himself that it is
That it's supposed to
he's,
start
like, kinda
filming. Yeah.
Ryan Johnson
No,
also
no, no,
says
no, no,
that
no,
his
no.
movies are coming.
The part
that he's
of
still
it
technically
supposed
there.
to start filming that came from Daniel RPK. He's the one who was
What?
saying that it's ready to go produce. Yeah, I took a deeper look at this
Wow,
whenever the reports are coming out.
I was misled then by a lot of people.
Yeah, no. A lot of those news sites were sourcing him, but also sourcing a different podcast.
So they
at the
took
same
two
time.
different things and they blended them together.
Exactly. So the real story here is
Okay, I see.
is that
I mean,
he is saying that they're getting close for it, and that he is a
then
studio
Daniel
director.
comes out. I know, I don't know Daniel, but I like know of Daniel. He's
Yeah.
a load
He's
of
horrible.
horse.
I don't like.
I
Daniel
really,
RBK.
I'm sorry. He throws 1,000 darts at the wall and it might hit one. But let's say it is true. It would be very ironic, wouldn't it, if I'm over here, blabbering about this movie's never getting made and it's the fucking first one besides Mando and Kermit the Frog. It's the first one being made outside of that. And that would, but it also feels not rushed because that's you can't determine that, but it really feels like this replaces the Rey spot, does it not? Like they wanted 2 movies in 2026, right? That obvious. It has to be Dawn of the Jedi then, because the Rey movie can't. There's no way, unless they pull a Rise of freaking Skywalker. There's no way they make 2026 for the Rey movie.
Well, yeah, no, the Rey movie is not happening in 2026.
So it's got to be Dawn of the
feel
Jedi.
like, though, that's another thing. I'm kind of curious what both of your thoughts are on this. Of like, with the Rey movie delay, do you think I think a lot of us kind of doubted we were getting 2 movies in 2026 anyways, honestly. It just seems kind of like, huh, you're really going to do that. But it makes sense for the return of Star Wars. 2 movies in 1 year. That's a big fucking deal.
Well, it'd be
there's-
2 very different movies, whether it's the Rey or Dawn of the Jedi. It'd be Mando and then Rey, or Mando and Origin of the Jedi. Those are 2 very, very drastically different things, and you can keep steam rolling because of that.
But do you guys think, and Long, I'll get you to go first on this, is do you think they're still going to stick to that December 2026 release date, while still keeping the Mando and Grogu in May? And that'll be our next topic here in a little bit. And the third part of this is, do you think it's going to be Dawn of the Jedi?
Before I get into that, Katie Miller did send a super sticker. $10. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
It's appreciated.
Yeah.
Shout
very
out
much.
to Katie,
Thank
to
you
one
so
of our
much.
to one of our members. Here's the thing. We talked about this before too. It's if they did the way studios did things before and got a script and did it, yes. But the fact that they cannot even get a script done is what the major issue is. If the Rey movie had a script and just had a couple revisions and there was no issues with it, yeah, they could have did it. Okay, Mandu and Grogu, there doesn't, because you got Filoni and Favreau. They took the reins of that one. They're dealing with it. They got it's old hat, especially Favreau. He knows what he's doing, and I have a feeling there's very little outside pressure or input on his thing. Right? They gave him that car, and they're like, you do your thing. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's whereas the Rey movie, because it's the tent pole. Right, even though you would think Mandu and Grogu is, the Rey movie is their tentpole. If you want to talk about the future, trilogies and main storyline of Star Wars going forward, it's the Rey movies. They're going to be a little more careful with that one. They're going to be, worried about what they're going to do, because Mandu and Grogu is going to be received because of the way the TV show was, right? But we know what happened at the end of Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi. They're not sure what's going to happen with Rey, and they can't afford it to flop, so they're being a little more careful with it. So the fact that they can't even get a script done is the reason why it wouldn't be. Again, with all things being said, normal, if they just got their scripts done, they both could have came out at the same time. I didn't see a problem with that. I believe I said it back then. The only reasonable problem is if they can't get a script done. If they do an Obi-Wan Kenobi, if they do like they've done with other movies, that they can't get a script done. And that's exactly what happened. So yeah. Do I think that it could be this Mongol one in the middle? Yeah. But here's the other thing I also think could happen. I think they could have sold us this schedule again, the slate, and that gets revised again. So there could just be Mandu and Grogu, and they're like, yeah, we'll give you a slate later.
Rogue Squadron, and that was supposed to be the start, the kickoff for all the movies, yeah.
So that's a possibility too, until, again, I don't, Daniel RBK, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. Sorry, I just don't. So that doesn't mean he's wrong. That just means I can't go with that and run with it. Is it possible that's Dawn of the Jedi? Sure, but that's a big movie. And what I mean by big movie is it's Dune. it's lore stuff, right? It's like Dune.
If you
It's
mess up the Dawn of the Jedi, like that's a
I mean,
huge-
not
Yeah,
even
that's a
mess
really
up. I'm
big
just saying
deal to tackle.
there's a lot
Well,
there.
sure.
It's not as simple of let's write up a script. It's there's a lot of consulting, a lot of
you
people
can't
that got to
rush
be
something like
involved.
this. You can't rush anything Star Wars, but you specifically
I think
something
with
like
this
that. The
topic
consequences
specifically,
should
I
be
don't
bigger.
think they're really rushing it because they've been wanting to do this for a
No.
long time. I mean, remember
Well,
the guys who did Game of Thrones, those writers, they were supposed to do a Dawn of the Jedi trilogy about the origins of the Force and everything like that. So
Dave
they've
and
been
Dan,
planning
fuck
this for
them guys.
They
about
clearly
10
have
years. Yeah, thank God
ideas,
they didn't.
right? That they throw at these writers. and
I think
stuff.
they have a direction and a general idea where they want to go with it, honestly. And I think James Mangold, honestly, is a solid director to tackle. I
Yeah.
don't know. Oh, wait. Here's a big tidbit of this, though, that makes me even more excited. The writer for this Dawn of the Jedi movie, I think is the guy who wrote which Andor arc was it? But anyways, one of the writers for Andor is writing this movie with James Mangold. So I think that adds a huge benefit to this movie not only happening but being good, is because you have a combination of things. Lucasfilm trust James Mangold. They did Indiana Jones. I know it wasn't a good hit or anything like that, but there is a trust that they have with him, and I do not think they blame him in the slightest for that movie. So you have that trust with James Mangold. You have the trust with the writer from Andor, who has a proven track record of Emmy-nominated and award-winning writing. And not only that, they've been planning this for a good long time. I think there's a good chance that this movie not only happens, but it could be the one that comes in 2026 in December. I think you could have that double whammy of two Star Wars movies, and I think what would do
But
it
again,
a lot of justice.
do we have a script? We don't even know if there's a script.
Yeah, bro. I want to be real.
Well, that's
like
the thing, we don't
hold on,
know.
like,
We don't
we
know.
bring up-
but if he is saying though that he's ready to go into production next year, I think that would mean they have the script is either done, it's almost approved. The biggest thing with Lucasfilm,
But
is
no, but
not
here's the
only
thing, Trent. Here's the thing we got to think about here. How are they going to tell us through multiple people, through Daisy with other people, that there's a script that's I've read it, I have this, that, all this stuff about that movie, right? When it's obviously having fucking problems. Okay,
Well, Daisy has
but
said
we hear
many times that she was
nothing.
waiting
But
for
we
a
hear
script, waiting for a
nothing. No, she says she read part of it. Remember? She says she's read things. She didn't get the whole script. She said she read things.
script. Yeah, I'm sure she's got some stuff, but I don't think it was
Okay.
ever-
But we're talking about how there's one being worked on, and we've got nothing from Dawn of the Jedi other than Mangold and the writer you're talking about. That's all we know. That is literally it. You know what I mean?
But I think
So
it's because
it's-
of how early on it is, and of course they haven't even casted anybody. I don't think yet. I think that's the difference with these two situations, is that you need Daisy Ridley to come back to do this Dawn of the Jedi. You don't need anybody for this, or you need Daisy Ridley to come back for her new Jedi Order thing, but you don't need any specific actor for Dawn of the Jedi. You just need this director and a writer. And truth be told, it's been what, a year and a half since the announcement and celebration and everything like that, and we're in constant doubt of these films. The fact that at every given point within the past year, when there's an update, this movie is still currently being worked on. They still say it's an active development, and it's on pace for whatever the hell its release is.
They still haven't pulled the Ryan Johnson trilogy. They keep saying
Because it's
that
still
that's
happening. It's still happening, Wanda.
Okay.
Don't you
man.
know? Don't you know the real December 20?
But do you see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah, no,
technically, that is just as valid as the fucking Mangold movie.
Well,
It's
I know,
and funny
I know
enough,
y'all are
it's-
saying that with hyperbole, but like people genuinely use that as like, it's not canceled. I've genuinely
But
seen
I mean,
people use
but
that
to-
as a way to
to-
defend
to
because
Lucasfilm.
Lucasfilm's
technically,
credit,
it's
the
not.
last time-
technicality, yes.
The last time Kathleen
Sure.
talked about it, she did say, she was like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for Ryan to finish Knives
It's in
Out."
Ryan's balls or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's in his. Yeah, it's in his ball court.
in
not
his court
balls.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
They haven't
it's
even
somewhere
pulled the
in there.
Taika one. They're just saying, "Oh, it's likely that's not happening." But
Yeah, I
there was no
forgot that
official
goofball was
anything
supposed to
to
make a
say
movie.
It's
that.
not happening. I don't think Taika's but that's the ultimate frustration, I think, all these fans, and why it is like what Palpatine brought up earlier about some of these people who are still defending Lucasfilm and criticizing Lucasfilm, because at this point with this news, especially of the Rey movie writer leaving and everything, it's not even sad, funny, or even pathetic anymore, because it's just what it is. That's the problem with Lucasfilm, is that there is zero expectations from them, from everybody now. There are people who will shill out for everything and will just say no matter
But the
what this movie's
contradiction.
called,
The people who are shilling, the people who are defending this, they're are the same people who are calling out Lucasfilm for canceling the Acolyte.
yes,
And
yeah,
how they're
absolutely.
racist and they're giving in to these people. And it's like, make up your fucking mind. Which one is it? Okay? How about this? Just because we disagree on what we like, maybe this is the time, like Star Trek fans have done in the past. Maybe this is the time for all fans to say, you know what? No, this is fucked up. Sorry. This is fucked up. I'm not saying I'm a huge Ray fan. I'm looking forward to this movie. I can't fucking wait. I'm going to watch it. But even though it's not like even though it's not like a big anticipation for me, it's not like it's, I can still look at this and go, no, this is a fucking problem. Even for a project that I'm not that super interested in. This is a problem. So how can the shills not even admit that? Oh, I know why. Because they're not going to get their fucking gift box next month if they do.
No, they get invited to discussion groups with Dave Filoni now. That's the new shill policy. It's
I'm sitting there at that
amazing what-
fucking polished black table. Hoo, 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 hoo. Look at us.
Yeah, I got to meet Dave.
I
Filoni.
just like I like are Star Wars fans' expectations too high? Because I feel like we just want a movie that's decent. I don't feel like Star Wars fans have
No,
these
I have
insane
made this
expectations.
argument on this
Like,
show for years that they have no expect. I have made the argument, especially
Well,
with
no, hold
the
on.
crowd, like
My-
what
my-
we're talking about, who just pleases everything. They
No,
they
no.
are just
My-
going to tolerate bad content going.
No,
forward.
I'm not talking about those people only. I'm talking about the ones who get criticized for being like fandom menace and haters and stuff. Yeah, I get those crazy goofball morons exist. They're like 1% of the 1% of fans. I get that. But like in general, like Star Wars fans get like, there's this huge narrative of like Star Wars fans, they're so toxic and they're they have too high expectations for writing and stuff where they can't just enjoy anything. It's like, I don't think that's true at all. I feel like Star Wars fans
not.
just want like an okay to decent story that's fun. Like look at
The
Mando season 2.
Mandalorian
It's not that
one-
crazy
That's
well written,
it.
but everyone loved it. People were
Well,
like,
yes,
this is Star
1 and
Wars.
2.
It was okay.
You
It was
had
just
your
some
out- you had
decent,
your outliers.
basic storyline.
You had your
Andor is
outliers, but you still had
professionally
what,
made, but it's not a
95%?
complex story. Yeah,
Yeah, like
Yeah, it
95%
had-
of people that loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it had, and
absolutely.
it was a very simple. It did take some scholar to write it, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. Had a pretty good story. That's how Star Wars is, man. Yeah, I love things like Andor, but like, just give me a freaking movie that's decent, okay? That's all I want. That's what most
become
people
a big
want.
problem with Star Wars. I think post prequels, and this is a problem I have with prequel fans, is that they make the prequels to seem this very complex,
Secretly
writing and
genius.
subject. It's secretly genius, yes.
Yeah.
But when you watch the original Star Wars films, like especially like A New Hope, I watched that with my roommate the other day, so you could see it for like the first time in one full sitting, and it's very simple. They go from Luke's planet Tatooine.
It's an adventure.
And they go to Death Star and then they blow up Death Star. Like it's a very simple beat kind of.
But within
movie,
that, there is
you
a
know?
lot of there becomes a lot of depth and a lot of I guess more. if you
Yeah,
wanna go
I
with
mean,
that.
yes,
but that's
yes,
all.
but it's
But
not-
that's
it's-
not what the movie was written around, right? The movie was written
Exactly.
as a really
It's
simple
a
adventure
fun
storyline.
movie, and that's
Yeah.
what Mando seasons 1 and 2 did. And I think even Andor is a pretty simply written show. It's greatly,
But they
written.
took those
It's-
concepts. It's a very simple concept about a man getting fall during this imperial regime. But they took these concepts of each arc and they so well written. I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
detail and depth to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think fans' expectations are too high. I think at this point, with certain fans, there's no expectations, and with other fans, we just want a simply good quality product. We've said this
Honestly,
on the
just
show
give me
many
a movie.
times.
I don't care if it's good or bad. I need something to talk
No,
about.
I need a good movie. I'm tired of. I'm not settling.
Make it
for
bad.
shit
I don't care.
anymore.
Put it out.
Well, I want to get onto the Mando stuff, anyways. Before we get into the last couple of topics of the show, and another thing that came from Puck News that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that is supposed to come out in, I think it's May 22nd of 2026, has wrapped filming. A couple other reports have said otherwise. Bespin Bolton came out recently and said, no, my sources are saying that it's going to go till December, but that could also include like reshooting and everything. His speculation, which I think is the most likely case, is that most of the cast has finished filming. And so with the different reports and everything, because both these people are extremely credible, I think the basic overall message here is we're wrapping up this film. This film is going to be done soon. They're almost done with The Mandalorian and Grogu. And basically all of 2025 is going to be post-production and probably after April, a non-stop marketing campaign. Lunga, what are your thoughts about where this Mandalorian and Grogu film is at the moment? That the fact that it is about to kind of wrap up, and also that we know within the core of our body and soul that this is going to be the next Star Wars movie you're going to see in theaters.
I already touched on this earlier. I think they left it in Favreau's capable hands. And when I say capable hands, I'm not saying, oh, he's the savior of Star Wars. He's done some dumb shit too. That they were like, what
He's
the fuck,
fine.
dude?
He just does it.
Okay, but what I mean by capable hands is this is a man through Marvel and other stuff. He knows what the fuck he's doing.
He's
Okay.
reliable. That's what I always think about.
He's
him.
very reliable. He knows his
Gets the job
deadlines. He
done.
knows production. He knows how to get this shit done. Okay, and he knows how to put out a good movie. All right, and I think they trust him enough. And since Mandalorian was pretty much his baby to begin with, you know what I mean, and it's not, other than maybe saying, hey, don't do this or this that can fuck up what we may have planned or may not have planned with the Rey movies. That's, fucking 30 years later from this era. Other than that, they're kind of giving him, giving the ball, and he's running with it. So yeah, Jon Favreau, I believe that it's getting done. I believe that it's wrapping up. I believe it's going to be going to editing. I believe it's going to come out on time because it's fucking Jon Favreau. And I think Lucasfilm is very not worried about this movie. You know what I mean?
You know what?
They're not worried about it because you can't. Because you got the same people who made the TV show working on it. You get what I'm saying? It's not a Ryan Johnson taking over an IP. It's the same people working on it. They're the one who just did this a couple years ago. They're continuing that story. They know what they're doing, so they're not worried about it. So there's not a lot of intervention happening.
Yeah.
In a way,
I
it kind
kind
of
of want to
reminds
get
me.
some.
Good.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, in a way, like with that last point you brought up, it kind of reminds me of them bringing back J.J. Abrams for Episode 9. It was like the guys work with Lucasfilm. He's clearly a competent director, whether you like his storytelling or not. Oh shit! I was gonna say something about this movie. Oh, I have a prediction for this movie. I think this movie's gonna be short. I think this movie's gonna be like an hour and a half to an hour 45 max. I don't think we're getting a 2.5 hour long movie for Mando and Grogu. I think it's gonna be a very.
I think
short
it'd be
movie.
about a 2 hour.
Nah, it'll be two.
Truth be
It'll be
told.
two.
Yeah,
It'll be two.
I-
It's not gonna be a long movie, but
yeah,
it's
definitely
gonna
gonna
be.
be.
There's very
2:30,
few.
But
No.
The only hour and a
Well,
half movies nowadays
I
are like B
kinda wanna
movie
bring up
horror
something-
movies.
well, I want to talk about. What was the topic here? I had something to say about it.
We-
oh
we-
yeah,
we were
whole
talking about the fact that this is definitely going to be the next movie, and we're in the
No,
home
but like
stretch
you're
of
talking about like the
production.
report that it was done filming and stuff. I've had a few people, I've talked to Brendan and stuff. He can't tell me directly like yes or no, but he's alluded that no, they're still filming. I think the most likely scenario is what you said, only that they're gonna have to do reshoots and stuff. To talk to someone else who's very close to Lucasfilm, and this person was like, absolutely not. This news is not true at all. But who knows? At the end of the day, it could be it's partially true. Probably Pedro's done filming. Probably some of the main people. Are done filming.
What they said, and this is likable, reasonable explanation, is that for a lot of the actors, their parts are done. So for a lot of people,
A lot of
it's
the they can get that
done.
info. Like, I'm done. You're like, oh, cool. They're done filming.
Yeah. And so if there's enough of them that are done, they're like, yeah, I think we're pretty much done.
But also,
You know what I mean?
like, listen, guys.
But
it
there might
doesn't make
still be
sense
some,
that this movie to have 2 years of post production. That's absolutely asinine. Like that. No.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I know,
that's
but
ridiculous.
but with the way they've done this series and using the volume, I think doing a big movie like this, I wouldn't be
Bro, if
surprised
they use
Jon
the volume for this movie, oh my gosh.
First of all, if they did, they did. First of all, second of all, with this
when we
having
see it.
a higher budget, I think them doing maybe a year and a half. Let's say if it ends production at the end of December, you basically have a year and a half still of fucking post production.
This
That's
shit's just gonna
beautiful.
sit.
No, it's not just going to sit. You can perfect every little detail if you wanted to. You can get the edit right and everything. But one thing I do want to bring up with you guys really quick, because I think this is very interesting, as it not only being the next movie, but we have known that they're basically adapting season 4 into this movie. I think that's actually going to end up helping this movie a little bit. The way I'm looking at it is that what Jon Favreau probably did is wrote season 4, and once he found out, okay, we're gonna have to end up doing a movie and let's just adapt a lot of this, he probably looked at all 8 episodes and just picked the best from it you know, and just trimmed down the fat a little bit, made a moments a little bit better and stuff like that. Like, do you think it being written for season four in a what they call a teleplay, script for a show, do you think it being adapted from that into a screenplay for a movie is actually going to end up helping this movie be a little bit
It made
better?
it easier. It made it easier. Look, again, I my D&D campaign that I've been doing for 3 years. It's a homebrew. And anyone who plays D&D, they know, a lot of people, it's daunting to do a homebrew. It's like, oh, you got to create this whole world. You got to do world building. You got to put all the ideas. I base it off my novel. So I already had it all there. You know what I mean? So it's like, I already did the work, the heavy lifting for it. So it's a similar situation. If he already has season 4. You know what I mean? And he's a writer. We keep talking about a director, but Favreau's a fucking writer. That's
He's
his
the whole package. He's
love.
an actor, writer, producer,
Okay.
director. You name
Yeah,
it.
right. But his love is writing. You know what I mean? That's what he really seems to like to do is to write. So, yeah, man, turning it from 8-episode script or 8-episode series into a movie, he could have did that in a hotel room over the weekend. You know what I mean? A rough draft, not finalized, polished kind of deal. But yeah, that definitely helped, and it definitely made it easier. Helping it, I don't know how good is season 4 supposed to be. If it's like season 3, I don't think it's going to help it. You know what I mean? It depends.
Well, and that's a point I want to.
No, I do think
When
season
it-
3 being trimmed down into a movie actually would have helped a lot of the issues with that.
Yeah.
Focusing
What?
on Mandalore and everything like that, and the Mandalorian clans, I think it would have helped. But Pal Memes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, real quick, like when it comes to season 3, everyone knows I really didn't like it and stuff. But one thing it did do that just feels it's a weird choice, but it kind of works, I guess, kind of depending on how this movie goes. Is they basically did a reset at the end of season 3, where everything's just kind of back to phase 1, and maybe all this was planned. I've always been someone saying like, no, this shit came out of fucking nowhere. But maybe the plan was to just reset Mandalorian to the status quo for season 4 and stuff, which again is a weird choice. But I don't know. That's what's weird is I also don't think there's going to be a lot of cameos and fan favorites in this. I seriously think this is going to be a somewhat grounded story. At most, you're going to get Thrawn, and it's going to kind of set up Dave's stuff. But a lot of people are talking about who's going to be in it. I'm like, I really don't think. Maybe
I
who's
think
the
Cobb
Boba
Vanth
Fett
will be in it.
cosplayer?
But
That's
here's the
what
thing.
I'm,
But
yeah,
you-
but
Cobb Vanth will be in
I'm
it,
saying
sure.
Luke or Ahsoka or whatever. Like, ain't no way.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be in it. I don't
No.
want
do you? I mean, but do you think when they made Mandalorian, they had planned for X amount of seasons? I really think because especially you watch, season 1 and 2, and Only has brought this up multiple times. Like that felt like a story that
It felt wrapped.
right. I think they had the story idea, and that was it. That was the Mandalorian. Now that doesn't mean we're not doing more. But that was it. And then when they saw the popularity of it, they're like, okay, well we can keep this going. And then I'm sure there was discussions after season 1. I'm sure, and they were writing season 2. I'm sure there was discussions of, well, we probably can do a movie for this. This is pop. So those things have probably been going on since the debut of season 1 and how popular it was.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean,
remember
yeah.
So-
we talked about it, like the guy that I talked to and everything, who said that season 3 was going to be the last season. It may end up being true, but I think when I was told that, I think that was just old information at that time, where after season 1 they probably did look at it and go, oh, this is such a big hit, yeah, we're definitely doing a season 2 and 3. And the way season 2 ended, it felt like, well, if we're doing another season, we're about to wrap it up, right, or something like that. Like there's gonna be a continuation of the story, but the Mandalorian series as it
Continuation of
is-
the character.
is over.
We're going to be able to
Yes,
use
yes.
his character.
And that was what I said in the scoop as well, is that the guy, what he had said, and it's been a couple years, but I remember what he specifically said the plan was like, oh, we're going to end it with season 3, and then the story of Mandalore is going to continue. But it's not just going to be about Din Djarin anymore. And we kind of saw that happen. It didn't go according to plan. I mean, you had the Gina Carano thing with the New Republic series being canceled. I don't think Book of Boba Fett did enough to merit a second season, really. So
I have a
there's-
feeling that Mandalore story, if they were going to make a series, that it was going to end with the teaser of what's going on at season 3 of Mandalorian. It was going to pick up in Rangers of the New Republic, which didn't happen, and then it was going to become the fight of Mandalore or whatever, or just Mandalore. They could have just
It's,
named
it's
it
building
that.
its own cinematic universe in a way.
Yeah.
Right, and that would have been its own series, and it would have had Bo-Katan and Mandalore would have made appearances and and shit like that. So yeah, I mean, I could see it like that, but yeah, again, everything's fluid, and I think it's again falls back to that. We'll know it when we see it. It's they're trigger shy, right? They're both trigger shy and knee jerk at the same time, which is much of a contradiction. It sounds like that's what they do.
Yeah, no, I 100% can see that. The last topic on this, which is relevant to the Mandalorian and everything like that, is that the last thing that was mentioned in a lot of these mixed reports was that apparently Filoni does have a second Mandalorian Mandoverse film planned that he wants to make. And we've kind of known about this. So Giancarlo Esposito has mentioned this, the guy who plays Moff Gideon, and Gus Fring, the greatest villain next to Darth Vader. He's mentioned this. And then when Brendan Wayne was on the show earlier this year, he even said that it doesn't make sense to him that they would just do a duology. Of course, they want to do a trilogy. So personally, I think the plan is to do just these two films. But I think I think the way this is going to end up playing out is, let's say the first film does $1 billion, you're getting a trilogy. Well, maybe not. Maybe it might still do a duology, because what happened with the sequels in most Star Wars films is the first one does really, really good. The second one does worse, but still really, really good. And the third one just does a little bit better than the second one to kind of even things out. So it's always very profitable. You didn't get that with the sequels. So I think what's going to happen is, hang on, I think what's going to happen here is that if the first one does really good in the box office, you're immediately getting a trilogy. I think that's but
if it makes 750 to $1 billion, trilogy.
And the a 750 to $1 billion. No, I think if it does 750, what they're gonna end up doing is being like, all right, Dave, you only got one movie to wrap this up. You can maybe do some shows or something like that. Get maybe 1 or 2 seasons.
750 to $1 billion? Fuck out of here. If it makes 750 million to $1 billion, that is immediately enough for a trilogy. What the fuck are you talking about? Well, they did a Dune trilogy with it only making 500 million.
Yeah, no, I think it's different for Star Wars and the amount of money that they've been putting into this stuff and what's going on.
Stop. How much money did they spend on the fucking Acolyte?
Was it 280 is what it came out to be? Was that
Shut up.
180?
Shut up.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. If the first one does 750 million, the next two are definitely not going to crack.
We haven't heard numbers yet, but I am seriously I will believe that this Mando movie probably did not cost much more than the Acolyte did. And that's fucked up.
I'm actually very curious to see what's gonna happen with that. That's an interesting take. That is a very interesting take.
Because how much is this Mando movie gonna be? Maybe 300 million?
Well, it's gonna be cheaper than the other 5 Star Wars movies they've made, for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's not gonna, first of all, there's no production issues, apparently so, that we know of so far. I mean, we're in the home stretch. But all the other 5 Star Wars movies have all had either delays, they spent a lot. Like Rian Johnson's film was production-wise really smooth, other than the writing delays. But for the most part, everything had a lot of issues that were very expensive. This film will probably be the cheapest because not only do they own the volume, and that is their technology, and they've learned so much about that, but yeah, I mean, they've already had the sets built. It was a show adapted into a movie. Like they probably.
Can we stop hating on the volume? The problem isn't the volume. The problem is how much they use it. That's the only issue.
Well, and I think it's
just like everything. All things in moderation.
Yeah, but that's why I was saying earlier that I think them having a year and a half to work on this film in post-production, theoretically, the volume won't become an issue, because I think that will give them enough time to actually make this very well done. I do have a lot of faith in Jon Favreau, and one thing I saw on Twitter was about the anniversary of the Stranger episode. I think it is the first episode of season 2, and how beautiful that episode was, and that was directed by Jon Favreau. Reminding me of that, I got so much comfort with this Mandalorian Grogu movie, where I was like, you know what? I'm good. I trust you, John. I don't trust Dave so much. This is his debut in directing films. So I'm really nervous about him doing a possible 2 Mandalorian Star Wars movies. But Palmeems, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think if the first Mandalorian and Grogu film is successful, we're immediately getting a trilogy?
I think they already have a sort of trilogy planned for a Mandoverse cinematic universe. The second movie is already planned to be Dave Filoni's movie, but it's also going to be Jon Favreau is going to be heavily involved. But we talked this
They'll probably
billion
write
dollar
it.
mark. I'm going to say it. I've said it so many times. I'm going to say it again. I stand firm on this. I do not see this cracking $1 billion. I just don't see it. But because that's what you ask is if it makes that much money, they're going to do trilogy. I think it's planned already. I think it's going to be a foundation to set up the second movie in this sort of universe, and it's going to be where all the cameos and fun fan.
If it does a solo, which it's not, but if it does like
It's
a solo,
not gonna do
you're not going to
solo.
make a second
No.
movie. I know
No,
it's
but
not, but I'm just saying.
Right. I think a second movie is. I don't know. It's we're on thin ice right now with Lucasfilm's.
There
track
is a
record,
universe where there's not a second one. Okay,
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
they are planning right
0.001%
now.
chance, but there is a universe where that
Fucking
can
imagine
happen.
they didn't follow it up with the second one. They have an issue with Dave fucking Filoni. Could you fucking imagine
That'd be funny.
The shock that I would have is insane.
You know? Maybe it's
Oh,
for
can we
Gus
say
this
thank you
time.
to Gus Nevin, by the way? Thank you, Gus, for the super
Oh
chat.
yeah, I saw that.
Very generous.
Thank you
Hey,
very
shout out
much.
to
Thank you
our
very much.
our member, a channel member. You guys remember
Guys-
Gus? We remember.
I remember
Any
him,
closing
actually.
thoughts on this possible trilogy? Because the last thing I'll say about it is the reason I'm saying is even if the first one does $1 billion, we might not get a trilogy. Is that I think by the third movie, especially with Dave Filoni directing it, this being his first crack and his writing, I've seen his pattern. I think by the third movie, people will be kind of tired of these Mandalorian movies, depending on how.
Yeah, but isn't
the
this
second
supposed?
goes.
But this is supposed to be the whole heir to the empire kind of deal, isn't it?
That's the problem. Is it's
Yeah,
like
but-
this is if this movie is connected to Dave's movie, which I'm assuming it is.
Yeah,
But we
I'm
really don't
assuming
know.
this is gonna be.
We all assume that Thrawn is of course going to be in there, but do you think it just being about the story of Heir to the Empire is going to be enough for it to really possibly crack that bill? Like, does that?
That's not
help
one
it?
movie.
It's 3, I know, but here's the way I'm thinking about it with Lucasfilm. In the track record, especially with the recent movies, is that first movie does so well, but by the time you get to the third one, especially with the sequels, it literally did half of what the first one did. So that's after 5 movies.
How about
I know.
this?
But if the first
Riddle me
Mandalorian
this.
and Grogu movie does a billion, if the third one does 500 million, that's
Again, but you're talking about at that point. At that point, the omelet's been cooked. That's I don't. If you're telling me what the third movie's gonna make after we've had already 2, that you're speculating on shit that doesn't matter because it's already the movies are made. Okay,
but it matters to Lucasfilm is what I'm saying. I think that's
okay,
the way
sure.
they're gonna look at it, where they're like, okay,
But you're yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to change your name to fucking Doom because that's what you're doing. Imagine if the third movie doesn't make 500 million, bro. Can we get the first and second movie first before we start worrying about what the third movie's gonna make? Here's
You're
the
talking
point
about
I'm trying to make.
Lucasfilm here and the planning. Like, come on, they are knee jerking. They canceled every single spin-off Star Wars movie because of Solo and the disaster that they caused.
Marvel is doing the same thing. They canceled a whole slew of. They literally redid the whole fucking timeline, the whole fucking storyboard. It was supposed to be Kang the Conqueror and the Kang Dynasty. They literally scrapped all of that. Brought
yeah,
fucking
it's
Robert
knee-jerk
Downey
reaction.
Jr. back as Doom, okay, to do Battle World, all this stuff,
crazy.
okay,
That's crazy.
dude, okay, and they canceled a shit ton of TV shows. The Marvel, the Blade movies, fucking scrapped. The Eternals are scrapped. Dude, they did the same thing, and it's owned by Disney, and it's a similar IP because it's a nerd IP. So yeah, dude, this is not a Lucasfilm thing. This is happening a lot of places.
I know, but I think if I know Lucasfilm like I do, I think what they're going to tell John and Dave is, Dave, don't write that second movie until that first one gets the numbers in. If it's
He can write it.
X amount,
He-
you
dude,
get
you
3.
think
he's gonna
If
write
it's-
it?
He'll
if it's
write it.
X amount,
He'll
you get
write it.
only 1.
Dude, he can still write a fucking script. What are they gonna pay him for the script?
No, I'm not
okay?
saying he won't write it. I'm saying that they're simply going to say, "Look, brother, we're going to give you 1 movie. We're not going to give you 2." to
I'm
wrap the
saying this.
story up."
Riddle me this. What if this Mando Grogu movie is a standalone teaser movie to introduce the Mandoverse to the theaters, and then the Heir to the Empire is its own trilogy?
Well, diddle me
That's
this.
what I'm saying. It could be completely separate.
Who's gonna write and direct all those
I
movies? You want it
seriously
to be
think-
Dave?
Well, hold on.
I'm not saying I want to, but it probably will be, and Favreau
Well,
will
yeah.
produce
Yeah,
it.
it probably would end up being.
You talked about that. Where did this come from? That Kathleen's job is almost on the line to get a movie out in 2020.
That was either from Jeff Snyder or Puck News.
Okay,
one of
so
the
let's
two.
talk about that real quick because I'm just thinking this Mando movie. It feels like because of how well it's the Mandalorian, you can make a very simple, inconsequential Mandalorian movie, aka you don't have to spend a whole lot of time getting it right. Right, you can just kind of throw something together and boom, here we go. Jon Favreau's already used to this process. Boom, get it out. That's kind of what this feels like. It's like we're getting this movie out for the sake of getting a movie out, and then hopefully that gives us some breathing room as for Lucasfilm to then work on this next real big production.
Or even breathing room for Kathleen Kennedy. Like I think if
well, that's
we take this
Lucasfilm,
report,
yeah.
Well, yeah, but so I'm saying like if we were to take this report very seriously, the future of Star Wars might be on the line with this one movie alone. Simply on how well it does, because if the report of Kathleen Kennedy needs a movie out by 2025 is true, let's say it comes out and it does solo numbers and it's a flop, it's a fail, it's like Indy 5. That's like 3. I think she'd be done. I think they'd be like, yo, dude, this is not working.
I'm gonna be real though, bro. Like
Time after
this
time.
point that Goldman brings up is I know he's kind of
Bring that
mocking us,
back up.
but
I'm
it
sorry, I
is
didn't see
true. It is true. Her job has been on the line for X amount of years and stuff. But I'm sitting here saying, yeah, from my understanding of what she's done at this place, she should have been gone a long time ago. For some reason, she's not. Someone needs to get fired. I'm sorry. Somebody needs to get replaced. This is like our freaking government. Some people need to get fired. Okay, we need to get more competent people to get this.
Listen, man,
ran
I live in
properly.
Chicago. Okay, Eberflus is still the fucking coach of the Bears after what happened last week. Okay, and that man has not gotten fucking fired. That man has on the road over the last 3 years is like 3-500. Okay, and he still hasn't gotten fired. You would think, yes, someone needs to get fired.
You would think.
Okay, but it's not.
You know who needs to run Lucasfilm?
It's not.
Donald J. Trump. And I Palpa memes today.
Oh,
on the
shut
spot.
up. Oh, here we go. Oh, by the way, there was a super
Dyes his
chat
hair black
for
one
there was
Man,
a super
never
chat
getting
for
Star
you
Wars press.
only.
Oh yeah, I saw
Pray
that.
tell, what was it? Been watching these Star Wars only since 2016. First time saying hello.
Same here, actually. Big fan.
Well, I
Star Wars
appreciate you
only.
being here on the ride, brother. I'm sorry it's
Been a long,
it's been so
almost
bad,
decade.
you know.
Fun fact:
Damn.
I didn't know who the fuck Star Wars only was. Max brought him on a stream with us. He's like, "I'm bringing Star Wars only." I'm like, "Who?"
Yeah, you know, I
Best
used
way
to
to go.
be a big deal in the fandom. I don't know if you guys knew this, but you know, I
Back
used to
when
have
Star
a
Wars was
reputable-
relevant?
This was
Yeah.
back. This was back in early 2020, man. I mean, come on. This
Yeah,
was.
I was booming on Instagram, booming on YouTube. You know, like I got some respect in the fandom back then.
Hey, let's
Now
not
I'm
forget my
just-
Battlefront
I'm just-
channel, guys. I mean,
I'm
I
just
was,
the old
I
man
was
who
right there with
complains.
y'all.
Yeah, Palmemes was coming up, and then he decided to stop around. Maybe I need to come back just to influence you to come back. We need like Jim Parker.
Brother, I'm
like,
telling you right now, because I've seriously thought about making a video on this Ray movie news. I don't have the fucking time, man.
Yeah.
With music and shit, like we're getting studio time now, so we're starting our studio recordings for an EP this weekend, which I'm very excited for. So I'll be sharing that with you guys if when we get that out and all that. So with planning that and the shows and all that, it's like, nah.
He's also going to do a live performance on the Chatooine show. It's going to be an exclusive thing we're going to do.
a new song that no one cares about. Yeah.
Well, you're going to have it Star Wars themed, of course, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the band.
let's pull up Matt McFat's comment. That's funny. Not Falpa memes on the "Make Star Wars Great Again" train. That's good.
I've been riding that train since 2018.
I hear MSW, and I think is making Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars great again.
Well, all right, Lunga, you got the calendar, sir, so we can give you guys an update.
Yeah.
Yeah, the calendar for our future shows. We are returning on November 20th. We're taking a bit of a break, so we're going to come back November 20th for Star Wars in 2024. November 17th, we begin our Skeleton Crew coverage with a preview of that series.
27th.
December 4th is the double episode premiere of Skeleton Crew, and then December 11th, we're just covering Skeleton Crew going forward after, we get into that.
Unless something
month of
crazy
December.
happens. Daisy
And yeah,
Ridley
if
did
there's
say there's
something
going to be a
that comes out
big
before.
update soon. I don't know if this is
No.
at the update.
At the moment, yeah, we're planning just to take a break for the rest of the month of, November and everything, just to give us, a little time and everything. And there's nothing going on. There's nothing to really cover. So
We keep,
Listen, there was something to cover, but none of y'all wanted to cover it, and none of y'all fucking watched it. You only watched fucking Rings of Power with me, which was okay, but I was worried about it. The Penguin is the best show on fucking TV right now.
hang on.
It is so fucking good.
I need to defend myself. You can't just throw these accusations at me. I will have you know, I've been watching Only Murders in the Building. I'm on the 4th season right now. I'm about to be completely caught up. Good but kind of corny show. I love it. And
I don't want to hear you watching some fucking rank ass third rate fucking series as opposed to the Penguin.
Excuse me, sir. I've been completely caught up with the Penguin. I even watched the Batman.
Rohit says, watch the Penguin
last night.
Michael Gonzalez says Penguin is fantastic.
I fucking watched it. What do you want me to say? Sophia just walked into the guy's house and dancing with the mom and the stutter motherfucker.
Kristen Milioti, give her an Emmy right now. Oh my God, she's so
fantastic.
Good,
she's absolutely fantastic.
Holy fuck!
And Colin
how did you guys not like the Acolyte though? What? This seems like a contradiction.
I had this whole discussion that popped up, and that's what started an argument with me and somebody else on there on fucking Twitter.
But,
my God!
You're not sexist anymore. You're just racist, right?
No, I'm just racist because she's white.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will figure out. Find a.
Yeah.
Well, Lunga, you're white, right? You are aware that you're white.
Yeah, I know. I'm white. Apparently, I need to explain myself because I'm so smart because I'm white. That's what I was told.
Italians are white, right? Like that's a common.
I mean, technically,
common assumption,
yes.
right?
Are
technically,
Jewish people considered white? Because I've heard both.
No, that's changed now. That since this whole we're getting into this shit now. Since this whole fucking conflict started,
get the fuck out of here.
They have switched from a protected class to white. That's what's happened now with this, which makes no fucking sense to me. When
it's not going to matter in 100 years. When
Star Wars, make Star Wars great again. I can't even talk.
Yeah.
Fuck Trump.
Thanks for coming in for this special Chatooine episode.
We'll see you next Tuesday, Lunga. Right?
See me next Tuesday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're doing your.
Why are you going to see me next Tuesday?
Oh,
my D&D stream.
Election night. I doubt we'll know.
Is that next Tuesday?
This fucking Tuesday, guys.
I don't know what me doing at the ballot box has anything to do with you seeing me. I don't know what.
I just want to give you a phone call.
What are you going to give me a phone call for?
Depending on how this goes,
election
I don't care.
Is going to drag on for another month or two.
I'm calling you or Lunga. One of the two. I don't care.
Man, we're not going to know who's president until fucking right before the inauguration.
January 6th. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, I'm definitely voting for Jon Favreau. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm going to write that in. Or maybe even Jimmy Carter. I heard he's still eligible to run for a second term.
He's voting. 100 years old, and he's voting. And what was it? Tim Walz said, if we win Georgia by 1 vote, I'll be happy knowing that it was Jimmy Carter that put us over.
Good old Jimmy.
Oh, this whole political season right now is fucking redonkulous.
All right. Well, speaking of redonkulous, this show is fucking redonkulous. It's a catastrophe, some would say.
Yeah.
So we will be back in 1, 2, 3 weeks on the Chatooine show for Star Wars in 2024. Before we close out the show, big shout out to all the channel members: Grievous Reborn, Tom, Katie Miller, Gus, Leor, my boy, your boy, that cloney boy. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Chatooine show. If you stuck around long enough, leave a like and tune in 3 weeks. I hope you remember us because we remember you. Bye.
What?